After the Armistice by Mary Elizabeth Braddon. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. 1859. So the brief summer days have departed, the summer days' warfare is done, and the noble and leonine-hearted rejoice in the battles they've won. There are laurels, light, splendor, and glory in the gorgeous first city of France, for we've beaten the heroes of story as the rifle eclipses the lance. Let us throw up our caps in the sunlight, let us welcome the prince we adore, but let us remember there's one light our emperor cannot restore. The light of young lives just departed, the light of love lost in the grave, past joys to the now broken-hearted, the light of the souls of the brave, the fair only son of the woman, the newly betrothed of the bride, hosts who fell hand to hand with the foeman, intermixed in death's terrible tide. Few pictures there are without two sides, the sunshine gives place to the cloud, and e'en glory's brightness has new sides, unknown to the hearts of the proud. For the wail of the desolate woman, and Rachel's loud cry of despair, in the triumph we've won o'er the foeman, arise on the clear summer air. So the river rolls on to the ocean, so the sun towards the west still doth tend, so grief, glory, joy, sorrow, devotion, must go on side by side to the end. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
All the World's a Stage by William Shakespeare. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. At first, the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms, then the whining schoolboy with his satchel and shining morning face, creeping like snail unwillingly to school, and then the lover, sighing like furnace with a woeful ballad made to his mistress' eyebrow. Then a soldier, full of strange oaths and bearded like the pard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice, in fair round belly, with good capon lined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances, and so he plays his part. The 6th age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side, his youthful hose well saved, a world too wide for his shrunk shank, and his big manly voice turning again toward childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. Last scene of all, that ends this strange eventful history, is second childishness and mere oblivion. Sun teeth, sun eyes, sun taste, sun everything. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Alone by Edgar Allan Poe. Read for LibriVox.org by Clarissa Varola. From childhood hour I have not been, as others were I have not seen, as others saw I could not bring my passions from a common spring, From the same source I have not taken, my sorrow I could not awaken, my heart to joy at the same tone, and all I loved alone. Then, in my childhood, in the dawn of a most stormy life, was drawn from every depth of good and ill the mystery which binds me still. From the torrent or the fountain, from the red cliff of the mountain, from the sun that round me rolled in its autumn tint of gold, from the lightning in the sky as it passed me flying by, from the thunder and the storm and the cloud that took the form, when the rest of heaven was blue, of a demon in my view. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
As an Old Mercer by Marlon Leonard Fisher. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sher. As an old mercer in some sleepy town swings wide his windows new day after day, sets all his wares around in arch array to please the taste of passers up and down. His hoard of handy things, of trite renown, of sweets and spices and of faint perfumes, of silks and prints, and at the last illumes his tiny panes to foil the evening's frown. So nature spreads her proffered treasures, such as daily dazzle at the morning's rise, fair show of isle and ocean merchandise, and airy offerings filmy to the touch. Then, lest we like not these, in dark bazaars she nightly tempts us with her store of stars. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Books by George Martin. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. In books I find companionship. They are my household gods, and naught shall wholly bar their voices from me. From their precious pages I quaff the immortality of ages. They are the spirits of the dead, not dumb. From ancient tombs and monuments they come, to hold communion with the living. They, while nations perish and the world grows gray. Their regal power and pristine beauty keep despite the havoc, and inglorious sleep of centuries that bore a crimson hue. Despite the flames which they have travelled through, unscathed they hold their sceptres, meek they bear these royal dignities. Like light in air they enter, silver-shod, the humblest door, and breathe their benedictions on the poor. Ye avatars, true saviors of the world, round whom the hopes of wisest souls are curled, be mine through life, in pain or pleasure mine. If near me still your pleasant faces shine, the skies may lower upon my thorny path, the heavens may pour their cataracts of wrath. I need not falter, need not hold my breath, nor tremble at the menaces of death. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Complete Destruction by William Carlos Williams. Read for LibriVox.org by M. Lee. It was an icy day. We buried the cat, then took her box and set fire to it in the backyard. Those fleas that escaped earth and fire died by the cold. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Dream by Edgar Allan Poe. Read for LibriVox.org by Clarissa Varola. In visions of the dark night I have dreamed of joy departed, but awaking dreams of life and light hath left me broken-hearted. Ah, what is not a dream by day to him whose eyes are cast on things around him with a ray turned back upon the past? That holy dream, while all the world were chiding, hath cheered me as a lovely beam, a lonely spirit guiding. What though that light, through storm and night, so trembled from afar? What could there be more purely bright in truth stay star. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Dying Bondman by Frances Ellen Watkins Harper. Read for LibriVox.org by M. Lee. Life was trembling, faintly trembling, on the bondman's latest breath, and he felt the chilling pressure of the cold, hard hand of death. He had been an Afric chieftain, worn his manhood as a crown, but upon the field of battle had been fiercely stricken down. He had longed to gain his freedom, waited, watched, and hoped in vain, till his life was slowly ebbing, almost broken was his chain. By his bedside stood the master, gazing on the dying one, knowing by the dull gray shadows that life's sands were almost run. "Master," said the dying bondman, "home and friends I soon shall see, but before I reach my country, Master, write that I am free. For the spirits of my fathers would shrink back from me in pride, if I told them at our greeting I a slave had lived and died. Give to me the precious token, that my kindred dead may see. Master, write it quickly. Master, write that I am free." At his earnest plea the master wrote for him the glad release. O'er his wan and wasted features flitted one sweet smile of peace. Eagerly he grasped the writing. "I am free," at last he said. Backward fell upon the pillow. He was free among the dead. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Farewell to London by Alexander Pope. Read for LibriVox by Mark Leader. A Farewell to London in the year 1715. Dear, damned, distracting town, farewell. Thy fools no more I'll tease. This year in peace, ye critics, dwell, ye harlots, sleep at ease. Soft Bethel and rough crags, adieu. Earl Warwick, make your moan. The lively Hinchinbrook and you may knock up whores alone. To drink and droll be row allowed till the third watchman's toll. Let Jervis gratis paint, and Froude save threepence and his soul. Farewell Arbuthnot's raillery on every learned sot, and Garth, the best good Christian he, although he knows it not. Linto, farewell, thy bard must go. Farewell, unhappy Tonson. Heaven gives thee for thy loss of Roe lean Phillips and fat Johnson. Why should I stay? Both parties rage, my vixen mistress squalls, the wits in envious feuds engage, and Homer, damn him, calls. The love of art lies cold and dead in Halifax's urn, and not one muse of all he fed has yet the grace to mourn. My friends, by turns, my friends confound, betray, and are betrayed. Poor Younger's sold for £50, and Bicknell is a jade. Why make I friendships with the great, when I no favour seek, or follow girls 7 hours in 8? I need but once a week. Still idle, with a busy air, deep whimsies to contrive, the gayest valetudinaire, most thinking rake alive. Solicitous for others' ends, though fond of dear repose, careless or drowsy with my friends, and frolic with my foes. Luxurious lobster nights, farewell for sober studious days, and Burlington's delicious meal with salads, tarts, and peas. Adieu to all but gay alone, whose soul sincere and free loves all mankind but flatters none, and so may starve with me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
For the Man Who Fails by Paul Laurence Dunbar. Read for LibriVox.org by Wayne Cook. The world is a snob, and the man who wins is the chap for its money's worth. And the lust of success causes half of the sins that are cursing this brave old earth. For it's fine to go up, and the world's applause is sweet to the mortal ear. But the man who fails in a noble cause is a hero that's no less dear. 'Tis true enough that the laurel crown twines but for the victor's brow, for many a hero has lain him down with naught but the cypress bough. There are gallant men in the losing fight, and as gallant deeds are done as ever grace the captured height or the battle grandly won. We sit at life's board with our nerves high strung, and we play for the sake of fame, and our odes are sung, and our banners hung for the man who wins the game. But I have a song of another kind that breathes in these fame-wrought gales, an ode to the noble heart and mind of the gallant man who fails. The man who is strong to fight his fight, and whose will no front can daunt, if the truth be truth and the right be right, is the man that the ages want. Though he fail and die in grim defeat, yet he has not fled the strife, and the house of earth will seem more sweet for the perfume of his life. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Happy is England by John Keats. Read for LibriVox.org by Bryn Roberts. Happy is England. I could be content to see no other verdure than its own, to feel no other breezes than are blown through its tall woods with high romances blent. Yet do I sometimes feel a languishment for skies Italian, and an inward groan to sit upon an Alp as on a throne, and half forget what world or worldling meant. Happy is England, sweet her artless daughters, enough their simple loveliness for me, enough their whitest arms in silence clinging, yet do I often warmly burn to see beauties of a deeper glance, and hear their singing, and float with them about the summer waters. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Land God Forgot by Robert W. Service. Read for LibriVox.org by Step Heather. November 26th, 2022. The lonely sunsets flare forlorn down valleys dreadly desolate. The lordly mountains soar in scorn, as still as death, as stern as fate. The lonely sunsets flame and die. The giant valleys gulp the night. The monster mountains scrape the sky, where eager stars are diamond bright. So gaunt against the gibbous moon, piercing the silence velvet piled, a lone wolf howls his ancient rune, the fell arch spirit of the wild. O outcast land, O leper land, let the lone wolf cry all express the hate insensate of thy hand, thy heart's abysmal loneliness. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Legend by Hart Crane. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. As silent as a mirror is believed, realities plunge in silence by. I am not ready for repentance, nor to match regrets, for the moth bends no more than the still imploring flame, and tremorous in the white falling flakes kisses are, the only worth all granting. It is to be learned, this cleaving and this burning, but only by the one who spends out himself again. Twice and twice, again the smoking souvenir, bleeding eidolon, and yet again, until a bright logic is one, unwhispering as a mirror is believed. Then drop by caustic drop a perfect cry shall string some constant harmony, relentless caper for all those who step the legend of their youth into the noon. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Light Sounds the Harp by Thomas Moore. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Light sounds the harp when the combat is over, when heroes are resting and joy is in bloom, when laurels hang loose from the brow of the lover, and Cupid makes wings of the warrior's plume. But when the foe returns, again the hero burns, high flames the sword in his hand once more. The clang of mingling arms is then the sound that charms, and brazen notes of war that stirring trumpets pour. Then again comes the harp when the combat is over, when heroes are resting and joy is in bloom, when laurels hang loose from the brow of the lover, and Cupid makes wings of the warrior's plume. Light went the harp when the war god reclining lay lulled on the white arm of beauty to rest, when round his rich armor the myrtle hung twining, and flights of young doves made his helmet their nest. But when the battle came, the hero's eye breathed flame. Soon from his neck the white arm was flung, while to his waking ear no other sounds were dear but brazen notes of war by thousand trumpets sung. But then came the light harp when danger was ended, and beauty once more lulled the war god to rest, when tresses of gold with his laurels lay blended, and flights of young doves made his helmet their nest. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Love Hath a Language by Helen Selina Sheridan. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sher. From To My Son. Love hath a language for all years, fond hieroglyphs, obscure and old, wherein the heart reads, writ with tears, the tale which never yet was told. Love hath his metre too, to trace those bonds which never yet were given, to measure that which mocks at space, is deep as death, and high as heaven. Love hath his treasure hoards, to pay true faith, or goodly service done, dear priceless nothings, which outweigh all riches that the sun shines on. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Love Song by George Wither. Read for LibriVox.org by Step Heather. November 26, 2022. I loved a lass, a fair one, as fair as e'er was seen. She was indeed a rare one, another Sheba queen. But fool as then I was, I thought she loved me too. But now, alas, she has left me, Falero, lero, loo. Her hair like gold did glister, each eye was like a star. She did surpass her sister, which passed all others far. She would me honey call, she'd kiss me too. But now, alas, she has left me, Falero, lero, loo. In summer time to Medley, my love and I would go. The boatman there stood ready, my love and I to row. For cream there we would call, for cakes and for prunes too. But now, alas, she has left me, Falero, lero, loo. Many a merry meeting my love and I have had. She was my only sweeting, she made my heart full glad. The tears stood in her eyes, like to the morning dew. But now, alas, she has left me, Falero, lero, loo. And as abroad we walked, as lovers' fashion is, oft as we sweetly talked, the sun would steal a kiss, the wind upon her lips likewise most sweetly blew. But now, alas, she has left me, Falero, lero, loo. Her cheeks were like the cherry, her skin as white as snow. When she was blithe and merry, she angel-like did show. Her waist exceeding small, the fives did fit her shoe. But now, alas, she has left me, Falero, lero, loo. In summer time or winter, she had her heart's desire. I still did scorn to stint her, from sugar, sack, or fire. The world went round about, no cares we ever knew. But now, alas, she has left me, Falero, lero, loo. As we walked home together at midnight through the town, to keep away the weather, o'er her I'd cast my gown. No cold my love should feel, whate'er the heavens could do. But now, alas, she has left me, Falero, lero, loo. Like doves we would be billing, and clip and kiss so fast, yet she would be unwilling that I should kiss the last. They're Judas kisses now, since that they proved untrue. For now, alas, she has left me, Falero, lero, loo. To maidens' vows and swearing henceforth no credit give. You may give them the hearing, but never them believe. They are as false as fair, unconstant, frail, untrue. For mine, alas, hath left me, Falero, lero, loo. 'Twas I that paid for all things, 'twas others drank the wine. I cannot now recall things, live but a fool to pine. 'Twas I that beat the bush, the bird to others flew. For she, alas, hath left me, Falero, lero, loo. If ever that Dame Nature, for this false lover's sake, another pleasing creature like unto her would make, let her remember this, to make the other true. For this, alas, hath left me, Falero, lero, loo. No riches now can raise me, no want make me despair, no misery amaze me, nor yet for want I care. I have lost a world itself, my earthly heaven adieu, since she, alas, hath left me, Falero, lero, loo. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Love Song of J. Alfred Prufrock by T.S. Eliot. Read for LibriVox.org by Robert DeGangi Rausch. November 2022. Buffalo, New York. S'io credesse che mia riposta fosse a persona che ma tornasse al mondo, che sta fiamma staria senza pier scosse, ma però che chiama di questo fondo noterno viver con, s'iodo il vero, senza tema d'infamia ti rispondo.
Let us go then, you and I, when the evening is spread out against the sky, like a patient etherized upon a table. Let us go through certain half-deserted streets, the muttering retreats of restless nights in one-night cheap hotels, and sawdust restaurants with oyster shells. Streets that follow like a tedious argument of insidious intent to lead you to an overwhelming question. Oh, do not ask, what is it? Let us go and make our visit. In the room the women come and go, talking of Michelangelo. The yellow fog that rubs its back upon the window panes, the yellow smoke that rubs its muzzle on the window panes, licked its tongue into the corners of the evening, lingering upon the pools that stand in drains, let fall upon its back the soot that falls from chimneys, slipped by the terrace, made a sudden leap, and seeing that it was a soft October night, curled once about the house and fell asleep. And indeed there will be time for the yellow smoke that slides along the street, rubbing its back upon the window panes. There will be time to prepare a face to meet the faces that you meet. There will be time to murder and create, and time for all the works and days of hands that lift and drop a question on your plate, time for you and time for me, and time yet for 100 indecisions and for 100 visions and revisions before the taking of a toast and tea. In the room the women come and go, talking of Michelangelo. And indeed there will be time to wonder, do I dare? And do I dare? Time to turn back and descend the stair. With a bald spot in the middle of my hair, they will say, how his hair is growing thin. My morning coat, my collar mounting firmly to the chin, my necktie rich and modest, but asserted by a simple pin. They will say, but how his arms and legs are thin. Do I dare disturb the universe? In a minute there is time for decisions and revisions, which a minute will reverse. For I have known them all already, known them all. I have known the evenings, mornings, afternoons. I have measured out my life with coffee spoons. I know the voices dying with a dying fall beneath the music from a farther room. So how should I presume? And I have known the eyes already, known them all. The eyes that fix you in a formulated phrase. And when I am formulated, sprawling on a pin, when I am pinned and wriggling on the wall, then how should I begin to spit out the butt ends of my days and ways? And how should I presume? And I have known the arms already, known them all, arms that are braceleted and white and bare, but in the lamplight downed with light brown hair. Is it perfume from a dress that makes me so digress? Arms that lie along a table or wrap about a shawl. And should I then presume? And how should I begin? Shall I say I have gone at dusk through narrow streets and watched the smoke that rises from the pipes of lonely men in shirt sleeves leaning out of windows? I should have been a pair of ragged claws scuttling across the floors of silent seas. And the afternoon, the evening sleeps so peacefully, smoothed by long fingers. Asleep, tired, or it malingers. Stretched on the floor here beside you and me, should I, after tea and cakes and ices, have the strength to force the moment to its crisis? But though I have wept and fasted, wept and prayed, though I have seen my head, grown slightly bald, brought in upon a platter, I am no prophet, and here's no great matter. I have seen the moment of my greatness flicker, and I have seen the eternal footman hold my coat and snicker. And in short, I was afraid. And would it have been worth it after all, after the cups, the marmalade, the tea, among the porcelain, among some talk of you and me, Would it have been worth while to have bitten off the matter with a smile, to have squeezed the universe into a ball, to roll it towards some overwhelming question, to say, I am Lazarus, come back from the dead, come back to tell you all, I shall tell you all. If one settling a pillow by her head should say, that is not what I meant at all. That is not it at all. And would it have been worth it after all? Would it have been worthwhile after the sunsets and the dooryards and the sprinkled streets, after the novels, after the teacups, after the skirts that trail along the floor, and this, and so much more? It is impossible to say just what I mean, but as if a magic lantern threw the nerves and patterns on a screen, would it have been worthwhile if one settling a pillow or throwing off a shawl and turning toward the window should say, that is not it at all. That is not what I meant at all. No, I am not Prince Hamlet, nor was meant to be. Am an attendant lord, one that will do to swell a progress, start a scene or two, advise the prince, no doubt, an easy tool, deferential, glad to be of use, politic, cautious, and meticulous, full of high sentence, but a bit obtuse. At times, indeed, almost ridiculous, almost at times the fool. I grow old. I grow old. I shall wear the bottoms of my trousers rolled. Shall I part my hair behind? Do I dare to eat a peach? I shall wear white flannel trousers and walk upon the beach. I have heard the mermaids singing each to each. I do not think they will sing to me. I have seen them riding seaward on the waves, combing the white hair of the waves blown back when the wind blows the water white and black. We have lingered in the chambers of the sea, by sea-girls wreathed with seaweed red and brown, till human voices wake us and we drown.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Music by Stephen Vincent Benet. Read for LibriVox.org by Carrie Adams, your book voice, on the 6th of November, 2022, at Mesa, Arizona. My friend went to the piano, spun the stool a little higher, left his pipe to cool, picked up a fat green volume from the chest, and propped it open, whitely, without rest. His fingers swept the keys that flashed like swords, and to the brute drums of barbarian hordes. Roaring and thunderous and weapon bare, an army stormed the bastions of the air. Dreadful with banners, fire to slay and parch, marching together as the lightnings march. And swift as storm clouds, brazen helms and cars clanged to a fierce resurgence of old wars. Above the screaming horns, in state they passed, trampling and splendid, on and sought the vast, rending the darkness like a leaping knife, the flame, the noble pageant of our life. the burning seal that stamps man's high indenture to vain attempt and most forlorn adventure. Romance and purple seas and toppling towns, and the wind's valiance crying o'er the downs, that nerves the silly hand, the feeble brain, from the loose net of words to deeds again. And to all courage, perilous and sharp, the last chord shook me as wind shakes a harp. And my friend swung round on his stool, and from gods we were men. How pretty, we said, and went on with our talk again. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
November by Isabel Ecclestone Mackay. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. O dreary days and rugged ways, and bitter winds so fiercely blowing! O fallen leaves and shivering trees, and bare brown fields with nothing growing! O empty plains and sweeping rains! O lonely wood a requiem sighing o'er summer dead and songsters fled, and flowers in their dark graves lying! O early night and laggard light! O glittering frost with fairy fingers! O glad surprise of sunset skies, where heaven's brightest glory lingers! O changeful time of gloom and shine! Thy charm my heart will long remember. In all the year I hold most dear the cold and colorless November. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Peace and Glory by Thomas Moore. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Written on the approach of war. Where is now the smile that lightened every hero's couch of rest? Where is now the hope that brightened honor's eye and pity's breast? Have we lost the wreath we braided for our weary warrior men? Is the faithless olive faded? Must the bay be plucked again? Passing hour of sunny weather, lovely in your light awhile, peace and glory, wed together, wandered through our blessed isle. And the eyes of peace would glisten, dewy as a morning sun, when the timid maid would listen to the deeds her chief had done. Is their hour of dalliance over? Must the maiden's trembling feet waft her from her warlike lover to the desert's still retreat? Fare you well, with sighs we banish nymph so fair and guests so bright. Yet the smile with which you vanish leaves behind a soothing light that long shall sparkle o'er your warrior's sanguined way, through the field where horrors darkle, shedding hope's consoling ray. Long the smile his heart will cherish, to its absent idol true, while around him myriads perish, glory still will sigh for you. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Poet by Yone Noguchi. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Out of the deep and the dark a sparkling mystery, a shape, something perfect, comes like the stir of the day. One whose breath is an odor, whose eyes show the road to stars. The breeze in his face, the glory of heaven on his back. He steps like a vision hung in air, diffusing the passion of eternity. His abode is the sunlight of morn, the music of eve his speech. In his sight one small turn from the dust of the grave, and move upward to the woodland. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Raggedy Man by James Whitcomb Riley. Read for LibriVox by Mark Leader. Oh, the Raggedy Man, he works for Pa, and he's the goodest man ever you saw. He comes to our house every day and waters the horses and feeds them hay. And he opens the shed, and we all just laugh when he drives out our little old wobbly calf. And then, if our hired girl says he can, he milks the cow for Elizabeth Ann. Ain't he a awful good Raggedy Man? Raggedy, raggedy, raggedy man. Why, the Raggedy Man, he's just so good he splits the kindling and chops the wood, and then he spades in our garden too, and does most things that boys can't do. He clumbed clean up in our big tree and shook the apple down for me, and 'nother and two for Elizabeth Ann, and 'nother and two for the Raggedy Man. Ain't he a awful kind Raggedy Man? Raggedy, raggedy, raggedy man. And the Raggedy Man one time say he picked roast Rambos from a orchard tree and ate 'em allest roastin' hot. And it's so too, 'cause a corn crib got a fire one time and all burned down on the Smoot farm, 'bout 4 mile from town. On the Smoot farm, yes, and the hired hand at work there and then was the Raggedy Man. Ain't he the beatin'est Raggedy Man? Raggedy, raggedy, raggedy man. The Raggedy Man's so good and kind, he'll be our horsey and haw and mind everything that you make 'em do, and won't run off lest you want 'em to. I drived him once way down our lane, and he got scared when it meant to rain, and it rared up and squealed and run pert nigh away, and it's all in fun. And then he skeered again at a old tin can. Whoa, ye old runaway Raggedy Man. Raggedy, raggedy, raggedy man. And the Raggedy Man, he knows most rhymes, and tells 'em if I be good sometimes. Knows about giants, and griffins, and elves, and the squidgicum squeeze that swaller theirselves. And right by the pump in our pasture lot, he showed me the hole that the Wunks has got that lives way deep in the ground and can turn into me or Elizabeth Ann, or Ma, or Pa, or the Raggedy Man. Ain't he a funny old Raggedy Man? Raggedy, raggedy, raggedy man. And once, when the Raggedy Man come late and pigs a root through the garden gate, he tend like the pigs was bears and said, "Old Bear Shooter'll shoot 'em dead," and race and chase 'em, and they just run when he pint his hoe at 'em like it's a gun, and go bang, bang, and then he stand and load up his gun again. Raggedy Man. He's an old bear shooter, Raggedy Man. Raggedy, raggedy, raggedy man. And sometimes the Raggedy Man lets on we're little prince children, and old King's gone to get more money and left us there. And robbers is just thick everywhere. And then, if we all won't cry for sure, the Raggedy Man he'll come and explore the castle halls and steal the gold. And steal us too, and grab and hold and pack us off to his old cave. And haymows the cave of the Raggedy Man. Raggedy, raggedy, raggedy man. The Raggedy Man, one time when he was making a little bow and orry for me, say, when you're big like your pa is, ere you go to keep a fine store like his, and be a rich merchant, and wear fine clothes, or what ere you go to be, goodness knows. And then he laughed at Elizabeth Ann, and I says, go to be a Raggedy Man. I must go to be a nice Raggedy Man. Raggedy, raggedy, raggedy man. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Read for LibriVox.org by Clarissa Varola. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many a quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, While I nodded, nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as if someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door, only this, and nothing more. Ah, distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I sought to borrow from my book surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden whom the angels name Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastic terrors never felt before. So that now to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This is it, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," I said, or "Madame, truly your forgiveness I implore, but the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I opened wide the door, darkness there, and nothing more." Deep into that darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the darkness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word "Lenore." This I whispered, and an echo murmured back the word "Lenore." Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon I heard again a tapping, somewhat louder than before. "Surely," said I, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see, then, what threat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisance he made, not an instant stopped or stayed he, but with mien of lord or lady, perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas, just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird, beguiling my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. "Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou," I said, "thou art no craven, ghastly, grim, and ancient raven wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther than he uttered, not a feather then he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, "Other friends have flown before, on the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before." Then the bird said, "Nevermore." Startled at the stillness, broke by reply so aptly spoken, "Doubtless," said I, "what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of nevermore." But the raven still beguiling all my sad soul into smiling, straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of bird and bust and door. Then upon the velvet sinking, I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking what this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking "Nevermore." This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining, that with lamplit gloated over, but whose velvet violet lining, with the lamplight gloating o'er, she shall press, ah, nevermore. Then, methought the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by angels whose faint footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. "Wretch," I cried, "thy God hath lent thee by these angels, he has sent thee, Respite, respite, and nepenthe from thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore. Quoth the Raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, whether tempest sent, or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore. Desolate, yet all undaunted on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore. Quoth the Raven, nevermore. Prophet, said I, thing of evil, prophet still, if bird or devil, by the heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell his soul with sorrow laden if, within the distant Aidenn, it shall clasp a sainted maiden, whom the angels name Lenore, clasp a rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels name Lenore. Quoth the Raven, nevermore. Be that word our sign of parting, bird or friend, I shrieked upstarting, get thee back into the tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken. Quit the bust above my door. Take thy break from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door. Quoth the Raven, nevermore. And the Raven, never flitting, still is sitting, on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door. And his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight over him streaming throws his shadow on the floor, and my soul from out that shadow lies floating on the floor, shall be lifted nevermore. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
R.E.H. died June 11th, 1936. By R.H. Barlow. Read for LibriVox.org by Dale Grothman. This is a tribute poem to Robert E. Howard, the creator of Conan. Conan, the warrior king, lies stricken dead beneath a sky of cryptic stars. The lute that was his laughter stilled, and sadly mute. Upon the chilling earth his youthful head, there sounds for him no more the clamorous fray, but dirges now, where once the trumpet loud upon him pressed old memories for shroud, and ended as the conflict of the day. Death spilled the blood of him who loved the fight, as men love mistresses, and fought it well. His fair young flesh is marble where he fell, with broken sword that vanquished all but night. And as of mythic kings, our words must speak of Conan now, who roves where dreamers seek. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Shadow by Mary Elizabeth Braddon. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. I met a ghost under the summer sky that turned and mocked me as he passed me by. Know you me not? This pale, sad phantom said, I am the shadow of thy good days dead. Thou canst not fly from me. He took the fashion of a face once dear. He stole the voice I once so loved to hear. He called me back to hopes and dreams long fled, fair scenes of life forever vanished, and pitiless was he. See, see, he cried, I take her by the hand, and lead thy lost love from the shadow land. Look well upon each beauty and each grace, dwell on the dear and long remembered face, forever lost to thee. Then go into life's thronged and busy ways, and bury in thy heart the bygone days. Bury the discontents thou canst conceal, but in their silence dost the deeper feel. Thou canst not bury me. I am thyself, linked to thy mortal frame. I am thy saddened soul's immortal flame. I am thy youth, thy hopes, thy dreams, thy past, o'ershadowing thy life while life shall last. My name is Memory. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
She Comes Not When Noon Is on the Roses, by Herbert Trench. Read for LibriVox.org by Bryn Roberts. She comes not when noon is on the roses, too bright is day. She comes not to the soul till it reposes from work and play. But when night is on the hills, and the great voices roll in from sea, by starlight and by candlelight and dreamlight, she comes to me. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Shield by Thomas Moore. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Say, did you not hear a voice of death? And did you not mark the paly form which rode on the silvery mist of the heath, and sung a ghostly dirge in the storm? Was it the wailing bird of the gloom that shrieks on the house of woe all night, or a shivering fiend that flew to a tomb to howl and to feed till the glance of light? 'Twas not the death bird's cry from the wood, nor shivering fiend that hung on the blast. 'Twas the shade of Helderic, man of blood. It screams for the guilt of days that are past. See how the red, red lightning strays, and scares the gliding ghosts of the heath. Now on the leafless yew it plays, where hangs the shield of this son of death. That shield is blushing with murderous stains. Long has it hung from the cold yew's spray. It is blown by storms and washed by rains, but neither can take the blood away. Oft by that yew on the blasted field, demons dance to the red moon's light, while the damp boughs creak and the swinging shield sings to the raving spirit of night. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Sorrow of Love by William Butler Yeats. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. The quarrel of the sparrows in the eaves, the full round moon and the star-laden sky, and the loud song of the ever-singing leaves had hid away earth's old and weary cry. And then you came with those red mournful lips, and with you came the hold of the world's tears, and all the trouble of her laboring ships, and all the trouble of her myriad years. And now the sparrows warring in the eaves, the curd-pale moon, the white stars in the sky, and the loud chanting of the unquiet leaves are shaken with earth's old and weary cry. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Still Another Inning by Reinhard Kleiner. Read for LibriVox.org by Dale Grothman. If right or left or center's what you play, if second, third, or first is what you're hugging, remember you'll be at bat some day to do some slugging. You'll get your chance to make the bleachers roar. Perhaps a hoot with every cheer will mingle. But do your best, though you do nothing more than land a single. Who knows what skill or sudden might come to nerve your arm before those watching faces, to knock a homer that will leave them dumb and clear the bases. But what if, after all, you fizzle out and hit the plate and hear the thousands booing? Don't let your disappointment and your doubt be your undoing. Remember, on the diamond and in life, there's still another game that waits the winning. There's still, whatever rumors may be rife, another inning. And fate, the umpire, may be grim and cold, with stern decisions that for years pursue you. But do your stuff, and he will not withhold the justice due you. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sweeney Among the Nightingales by T.S. Eliot. Read for LibriVox.org by Robert DeGangi Rausch. November 2022. Buffalo, New York. Ape-neck Sweeney spreads his knees, letting his arms hang down to laugh, the zebra stripes along his jaw swelling to maculate giraffe. The circles of the stormy moon slide westward toward the river plate. Death and the raven drift above, and Sweeney guards the horned gate. Gloomy Orion and the dog are veiled, and hushed the shrunken seas. The person in the Spanish cape tries to sit on Sweeney's knees, slips and pulls the tablecloth, overturns a coffee cup. Reorganized upon the floor, she yawns and draws a stocking up. The silent man in mocha brown sprawls at the windowsill and gapes. The waiter brings in oranges, bananas, figs, and hothouse grapes. The silent vertebrate in brown contracts and concentrates, withdraws. Rachel née Rabinovich tears at the grapes with murderous paws. She and the lady in the cape are suspect, thought to be in league. Therefore the man with heavy eyes declines the gambit, shows fatigue. Leaves the room and reappears outside the window, leaning in. Branches of wisteria circumscribe a golden grin. The host, with someone indistinct, converses at the door apart. The nightingales are singing near the convent of the Sacred Heart, and sang within the bloody wood when Agamemnon cried aloud, and let their liquid droppings fall to stain the stiff, dishonored shroud. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
To Rosamunda by Geoffrey Chaucer. Read for LibriVox by Mark Leader. Madame, I ben of a halbe orte shrine, as fair as circled is the Mapamunda, for as the crystal glorious ye shine, and like ruby ben your shakes runda, therewith ye ben so merry and so jocunda, that I revel one that I say you dance, it is an ornament unto me wonder, och yet me ne do no dalliance. For though a wape of tears full Athena, yet my that woman earth not confunda. Your semi-voice that ye so small ut tween maketh me thought in joy in bliss abunda. So courteously ye go with love abunda, that to myself I sigh in me pronounce, sufficeth me to love you, Rosamunda, Forgetme nedo nord alliance. Nas ner peak walwood in Galantina, as Ian love am walwood in the wonder, for which full oft I of myself divine, that I am true Tristam visicounder. Me love me not refredo nor affunda, I bren I in an amorous pleasance. Do what you list, I will your thrall be funda. Forget me, nedo nol d'alliance. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Two Triolets by Harrison Robertson. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Scher. What he said? This kiss upon your fan I press. Ah, sans y touche, you don't refuse it. And may it from its soft recess, this kiss upon your fan I press, be blown to you, a shy caress, by this white down, whene'er you use it. This kiss upon your fan I press. Ah, sans y touche, you don't refuse it. What she thought. To kiss a fan! What a poky poet! The stupid man, to kiss a fan when he knows that he can or ought to know it. To kiss a fan! What a poky poet! End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Verse for a Certain Dog by Dorothy Parker. Read for LibriVox.org by M. Lee. Such glorious faith as fills your limpid eyes, dear little friend of mine, I never knew. All innocent are you, and yet all wise. For heaven's sake, stop worrying that shoe. You look about, and all you see is fair. This mighty globe was made for you alone. Of all the thunderous ages, you're the heir. Get off the pillow with that dirty bone. A skeptic world you face with steady gaze. High in young pride you hold your noble head. Gaily you meet the rush of roaring days. Must you eat puppy biscuit on the bed? Lance-like your courage gleaming swift and strong. Yours the white rapture of a winged soul. Yours is a spirit like a May-Day song. God help you if you break the goldfish bowl. Whatever is good, your gracious creed. You wear your joy of living like a crown. Love lights your simplest act, your every deed. Drop it, I tell you, put that kitten down. You are God's kindliest gift of all, a friend. Your shining loyalty unflecked by doubt. You ask but leave to follow to the end. Couldn't you wait until I took you out? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Village Blacksmith by Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. Read for LibriVox.org by Ron Altman. Under a spreading chestnut tree the village smithy stands. The smith, a mighty man is he, with large and sinewy hands, and the muscles of his brawny arms are strong as iron bands. His hair is crisp and black and long, his face is like the tan. His brow is wet with honest sweat, he earns whate'er he can, and looks the whole world in the face, for he owes not any man. Week in, week out, from morn till night, you can hear his bellows blow. You can hear him swing his heavy sledge, with measured beat and slow, like a sexton ringing the village bell when the evening sun is low. And children coming home from school look in at the open door. They love to see the flaming forge, and hear the bellows roar, and catch the burning sparks that fly like chaff from a threshing floor. He goes on Sunday to the church, and sits among his boys. He hears the parson pray and preach. He hears his daughter's voice singing in the village choir, and it makes his heart rejoice. It sounds to him like her mother's voice, singing in paradise. He needs must think of her once more, how in the grave she lies, and with his hard, rough hand he wipes a tear out of his eyes. Toiling, rejoicing, sorrowing, onward through life he goes. Each morning sees some task begin, each evening sees it close. Something attempted, something done, has earned a night's repose. Thanks, thanks to thee, my worthy friend, for the lesson thou hast taught. Thus at the flaming forge of life our fortunes must be wrought. Thus on its sounding anvil shaped each burning deed and thought. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Waiting by Mary Elizabeth Braddon. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. Two women stood upon the yellow sand, the waves and seaweeds curling round their feet. One shaded with a brown but slender hand her dark eyes from the heat. I asked, why watch ye thus beside the deep, whose rise and fall the hidden moon controls? We wait a touch shall wake us from our sleep. We're waiting for our souls. Are not your souls within your breasts? I cried. A bitter laugh ran down the stretching sands. My soul went forth, one said, with him who died far off in unknown lands. And from that day I've been the shadow only of what I was before that day came down. The dead than I could never be more lonely in yonder peopled town. I wept to hear her. You are broken-hearted by loss of him you loved so well, I said. Not so. Both heart and soul with him departed, and I am only dead. I knew his death hour, though none other knew, the world between us, but I felt him die. A shiver pierced my inmost being through. That was his parting sigh. His comrades waited for the ship's return, and hoping, fearing, lingered on the shore. I had no fear, no hope. Go back and mourn. You will not meet him more, I said. They called me mad and went their way. I watched the waves come up and rave and roll, but never saw his face unto this day, and thus I lost my soul. The other woman neither spoke nor moved. And she? I asked. I know her not, she said. I only know that she has lost and loved, and she, like me, seems dead. Love comes not once, I said, but till the last, the soul's dead winters change to living springs. God wakes the lyre to music of the past, but not the broken strings. But not the broken strings, she cried. Go to, why do you stand to argue with a ghost? We see not these things as they seem to you, because our souls are lost. Leave us, why waste your comfort on the dead? We with our hopes were wrecked on yonder tide. We ask no pity, neither tears, she said. We did not weep, we died. And so I left them, more I could not learn. Still stood they where the surges round them broke. But evermore my memory would return to her who never spoke. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Wasteland by T.S. Eliot. Read for LibriVox.org by Robert DeGangi Rausch. November 2022. Buffalo, New York. Nam sibilum quidem cumus ego ipse aculis meus, vidi un empula pendere et cum illi pueri dicerent. Sibilla de Theis, Apothenin Othello. For Ezra Pound, Il Miglior Fabbro. The Burial of the Dead. April is the cruelest month, breeding lilacs out of the dead land, mixing memory and desire, stirring dull roots with spring rain. Winter kept us warm, covering earth in forgetful snow, feeding a little life with dried tubers. Summer surprised us, coming over the Starnbergersee with a shower of rain. We stopped in the colonnade and went on in the sunlight into the Hofgarten and drank coffee and talked for an hour. Bin gar kein Rusenstamm aus Litten echt Deutsch. And when we were children staying at the Archduke's, my cousins, he took me out on a sled, and I was frightened. He said, Marie, hold on tight. And down we went. In the mountains, there you feel free. I read much of the night and go south in the winter. What are the roots that clutch? What branches grow out of this stony rubbish? Son of man, you cannot say or guess, for you know only a heap of broken images where the sun beats and the dead tree gives no shelter, the cricket no relief, and the dry stone no sound of water. Only there is shadow under this red rock. Come in under the shadow of this red rock, and I will show you something different from either your shadow at morning striding behind you or your shadow at evening rising to meet you. I will show you fear in a handful of dust. Frisch wird der Wind, der Heimat zu mein Irischkind, wo weilest du? You gave me hyacinths first, a year ago. They called me the Hyacinth Girl. Yet when we came back, late from the hyacinth garden, your arms full and your hair wet, I could not speak and my eyes failed. I was neither living nor dead, and I knew nothing. Looking into the heart of light, the silence, oh, it unklar das mir. Madame Sostres, famous clairvoyant, had a bad cold, nevertheless is known to be the wisest woman in Europe, with a wicked pack of cards. Here said she is your card, the drowned Phoenician sailor. Those are pearls that were his eyes. Look! Here's the belladonna, the lady of the rocks, the lady of situations. Here is the man with the 3 stabs, and here the wheel, which is blank, is something he carries on his back, which I am forbidden to see. I do not find the hangman, fear death by the water. I see crowds of people walking round in a ring. Thank you. If you see dear Mrs. Equitone, tell her I bring the horoscope myself. One must be so careful these days. Unreal city! Under the brown fog of a winter dawn, a crowd flowed over London Bridge. So many! I had not thought death had undone so many. Sighs, short and infrequent, were exhaled, and each man fixed his eyes before his feet, flowed up the hill and down King William Street, to where St. Mary Woolnoth kept the hours, with a dead sound on the final stroke of 9. There I saw one I knew, and stopped in crying, "Stetson!" You who were with me in the ships of my lay, that corpse you planted last year in your garden, has it begun to sprout? Will it bloom this year? Or has the sudden frost disturbed its bed? Oh, keep the dog far hence, that's friend to men, or with his nails he'll dig it up again. You, hypocrite lecteur, mon semblable, mon frère. A game of chess. The chair she sat in, like a burnished throne, glowed on the marble where the glass held up by standards wrought with fruited vines, from which a golden Cupidon peeped out. Another hid his eyes behind his wing, doubled the flames of 7-branched candelabra, reflecting light upon the table as the glitter of her jewels rose to meet it. From satin cases poured in rich profusion. In vials of ivory and colored glass, unstoppered, lurked her strange synthetic perfumes. Unguent, powdered, or liquid troubled, confused, and drowned the scents and odors stirred by the air that freshened from the window. These ascended, enfattening the prolonged candle flames, flung their smoke into the liqueria, stirring the pattern on the coffered ceiling. Huge sea-wood fed with copper, burned green and orange, framed by the colored stone in which sad light a carved dolphin swam. Above the antique mantel was displayed, as though a window gave upon the sylvan scene, the change of Philomel, the barbarous king, so rudely forced. Yet there the nightingale filled all the desert with an inviolable voice. And still she cried, and still the world pursues, "Jug, jug," to the dirty ears. And other withered stumps of time were told upon the walls. Staring forms leaned out, leaning, hushing the room in close. Footsteps shuffled on the stair, under the firelight, under the brush. Her hair, spread out in fiery points, glowed into words, and then would be savagely still. My nerves are bad tonight. Yes, bad. Stay with me. Speak to me. Why do you never speak? Speak! What are you thinking of? What thinking? What? I never know what you are thinking. Think. I think we are in a rat's alley where the dead men lost their bones. What is that noise? The wind under the door. What is that noise now? What is the wind doing? Nothing again, nothing. You know nothing? Do you see nothing? Do you remember nothing? I remember. Those are pearls that were his eyes. Are you alive or not? Is there nothing in your head? But that Shakespearean rag! It's so elegant, so intelligent. What shall I do now? What shall I do? I shall rush out as I am and walk the street with my hair down. So what shall we do tomorrow? What shall we ever do? The hot water at 10, and if it rains, a closed car at 4, and we shall play a game of chess, pressing the lidless eyes and waiting for a knock upon the door. When Lil's husband got demobbed, I said, I didn't miss my words. I said to her myself, hurry up, please, it's time. Now Albert's coming back. Make yourself a bit smart. He'll want to know what you done with that money he gave you to get yourself some teeth. He did. I was there. You have them all out, Lil. And get a nice set, he said. I swear, I can't bear to look at you. And no more, can't I said. And think of poor Albert. He's been in the army 4 years now. He wants a good time. And if you don't give it to him, there's others will, I said. Oh, is there, she said. Something, oh, that, I said. Then I'll know who to thank, she said, and give me a straight look. Hurry up, please, it's time. If you don't like it, you can get on with it, I said. Others can pick and choose if you can't. But if Albert makes off, it won't be for lack of telling. You ought to be ashamed, I said, to look so antique, and her only 31. I can't help it, she said, pulling a long face. It's them pills I took. To bring it off, she said. She's had 5 already and nearly died of young George. The chemist said it would be all right, and I've never been the same. You are a proper fool, I said. Well, if Albert won't leave you alone, there it is, I said. What if you get married for if you don't want children? Hurry up, please, it's time. Well, that Sunday Albert was home. They had a hot gammon, and they asked me in to dinner to get the beauty of it hot. Hurry up, please, it's time. Hurry up, please, it's time. Good night, Bill. Good night, Lou. Good night, May. Good night. Ta-ta. Good night, good night. Good night, ladies. Good night, sweet ladies. Good night. Good night. The Fire Sermon. The river's tent is broken. The last fingers of leaf clutch and sink into the wet bank. The wind crosses the brown land unheard. The nymphs are departed. Sweet Thames, run softly till I end my song. The river bears no empty bottles, sandwich papers, silk handkerchiefs, cardboard boxes, cigarette ends, or other testimony of summer nights. The nymphs are departed, and their friends, the loitering heirs of city directors, departed, have left no addresses. By the waters of Leman I sat down and wept. Sweet Thames, run softly till I end my song. Sweet Thames, run softly, for I speak not loud or long. But at my back, in a cold blast, I hear the rattle of the bones, and chuckle spread from ear to ear. A rat crept softly through the vegetation, dragging its slimy belly on the bank, while I was fishing in the dull canal on a winter evening round behind the gas-house, musing upon the king my brother's wreck, and on the king my father's death before him. White bodies naked on the low damp ground, and bones cast in a little low dry garret, rattled by the rat's foot only, year to year. But at my back from time to time I hear the sound of horns and motors, which shall bring Sweeney to Mrs. Porter in the spring. Oh, the moon shone bright on Mrs. Porter, and on her daughter. They wash their feet in soda water. Et ces voix d'enfants chantant dans la coupole. Twit, 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 jug, 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 so rudely forced Teru. Unreal city, under the brown fog of a winter noon, Mrs. Eugenides, the Smyrna merchant, unshaven with a pocket full of currants, CIF London documents at sight, asked me in demotic French to luncheon at the Cannon Street Hotel, followed by a weekend at the Metropole. At the violet hour, when the eyes and back turn upward from the desk, when the human engine waits like a taxi, throbbing, waiting, I, Tiresias, though blind, throbbing between two lives, old man with wrinkled female breasts, can see at the violet hour the evening hour that strives homeward and brings the sailor home from sea, the typist home at tea time, clears her breakfast, lights her stove, and lays out food in tins. Out of the window, perilously spread, her drying combinations touched by the sun's last rays. On the divan are piled at night her bed, stockings, slippers, camisoles, and stays. I, Tiresias, old man with wrinkled dugs, perceived the scene and foretold the rest. I, too, awaited the expected guest. He, the young man, carbuncular, arrives. A small house agent's clerk with one bold stare, one of the low on whom assurance sits, as a silk hat on the Bradford millionaire. The time is now propitious, as he guesses. The meal is ended. She is bored and tired. Endeavors to engage her in caresses, which still are unreproved, if undesired. Flushed and decided, he assaults at once. Exploring hands encounter no defense. His vanity requires no response, and makes a welcome of indifference. And I, Tiresias, have forsuffered all, enacted on this same divan or bed. I, who have sat by Thebes below the wall, and walked among the lowest of the dead, bestows one final patronizing kiss, and gropes his way, finding the stairs unlit. She turns and looks a moment in the glass, hardly aware of her departed lover. Her brain allows one half-formed thought to pass. Well, now that's done, and I'm glad it's over. When lovely woman stoops to folly and paces about her room again alone, she smooths her hair with automatic hand and puts a record on the gramophone. This music crept by me upon the waters, and along the Strand up Victoria Street. O city, city, I can sometimes hear beside a public bar in Lower Thames Street the pleasant winding of a mandolin, and a clatter and a chatter from within, where fishmen lounge at noon, where the walls of Magnus Matter hold inexplicable splendor of Ionian white and gold. The river sweats oil and tar, the barges drift with the turning tide. Red sails wide to leeward swing on the heavy spar. The barges wash drifting logs down Greenwich reach, past the Isle of Dogs. Wa-ya-la-la-la-ya, wa-la-la-la-ya-la. Elizabeth and Leicester beating oars, the stern was formed a gilded shell, red and gold the breeze swell, rippled both shores, southwest wind carried downstream the peal of bells, white towers, wa-la-la-la-ya, wa-la-la-la-ya-la. Trams and dusty trees, Highbury bore me, Richmond and Kew undid me. By Richmond I raise my knees, supine on the floor of a narrow canoe. My feet are at Moorgate, and my heart under my feet. After the event, he wept. He promised a new start. I made no comment. What should I resent? On Margate sands, I can connect nothing with nothing. My broken fingernails of dirty hands. My people humble people who expect nothing. La la. To Carthage then I came, burning, 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 burning. O Lord, thou pluckest me out, O Lord, thou pluckest. Burning. Death by water. Phlebas, the Phoenician, a fortnight dead, forgot the cry of gulls, and the deep sea swell, and the profit and loss. A current under sea picked his bones and whispered, as he rose and fell. He passed the stages of his age and youth, entering the whirlpool. Gentile or Jew, or you who turn the wheel and look to windward, consider Phlebas, who was once handsome and tall as you. What the thunder said. After the torchlight red on sweaty faces, after the frosty silence in the gardens, after the agony in stony places, the shouting and the crying, prison and palace and reverberation of thunder of spring over distant mountains, he who was living is now dead. We who were living are now dying. With a little patience. Here is no water, but only rock, rock and no water, and the sandy road. The road winding above among the mountains, which are mountains of rock without water. If there were water, we should stop and drink. Amongst the rock, one cannot stop or think. Sweat is dry and feet are in the sand. If there were only water amongst the rock. Dead mountain mouth of carious teeth that cannot spit. Here one can neither stand nor lie nor sit. There is not even silence in the mountains, but dry, sterile thunder without rain. There is not even solitude in the mountains, but red, sullen faces sneer and snarl from doors of mud-cracked houses. If there were water and no rock, if there were rock and also water, and water, a spring, a pool among the rock, if there were the sound of water only, Not the cicada and dry grass singing, but sound of water over a rock where the hermit thrush sings in the pine trees. Drip drop, drip drop, 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 drop. But there is no water. Who is the third? Who walks always beside you? When I count, there are only you and I together, but when I look ahead up the white road, there is always another one walking beside you, gliding wrapped in a brown mantle, hooded. I do not know whether a man or a woman, but who is that on the other side of you? What is that sound high in the air? Murmur of maternal lamentation. Who are those hooded hordes swarming over endless plains, stumbling in cracked earth, ringed by the flat horizon only? What is the city over the mountains? Cracks and reforms and bursts in the violet air. Falling towers. Jerusalem? Athens? Alexandria? Vienna? London? Unreal. A woman drew her long black hair out tight and fiddled whisper music on those strings, and bats with baby faces in the violet light whistled and beat their wings and crawled head downward down a blackened wall, and upside down in air were towers tolling reminiscent bells that kept the hours, and voices singing out of empty cisterns and exhausted wells. In this decayed hole among the mountains, in the faint moonlight, the grass is singing over the tumbled graves. About the chapel, there is the empty chapel, only the wind's home, and has no windows, and the door swings. Dry bones can harm no one. Only a cock stood on the roof tree. Cocorico! Cocorico! In a flash of lightning, then a damp gust, bringing rain. Ganga was sunken, and the limp leaves waited for rain, while the black clouds gathered far distant over Himavant. The jungle crouched, humped in silence. Then spoke the thunder. Da! Da-ta! What have we given? My friend, blood shaking my heart, the awful daring of a moment's surrender, which an age of prudence can never retract. By this, and this only, we have existed, which is not to be found in our obituaries, or in memories draped by the beneficent spider, or under seals broken by the lean solicitor. In our empty rooms, da! Dayadavam, I have heard the key turn in the door once, and turn once only. We think of the key, each in his prison. Thinking of the key, each confirms a prison. Only at nightfall, ethereal rumors revive for a moment a broken Coriolanus. Da! Damiata, the boat responded. Gaily to the hand expert with sail and oar, the sea was calm. Your heart would have responded gaily when invited, beating obedient to controlling hands. I sat upon the shore, fishing with the arid plain behind me. Shall I at least set my lands in order? London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. Poi s'ascosi nel fuoco che glia fina, quando fiem che o cieli don. Oh, swallow, swallow, le prince d'Aquitaine à la tour abolie. These fragments I have shored against my ruins. Why then I'll fit you. Hieronymo's mad again. Da-ta, Dayadvam, Damyata. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Weep Not for Him by Alexander Hamilton Laidlaw. Read for LibriVox.org by Stepheather. November 15th, 2022. Weep not for him who, in the battle dying, lives in the lays of those he sought to save. Weep not for him who, on the cold turf lying, finds in his native land a patriot's grave. Weep not for him for whom the night wind, sighing, spreads o'er his bier the banner of the brave, but o'er the ashes of the dead hussar shout to the thunder and the tramp of war. Go weep for her who, by her love's side sighing, gives to the grave the form she loved so well, and weep for her who meets no soft replying to the sweet story she would die to tell. Ay, weep for her whose love, to lead thee flying, left on her lip no mark of his farewell. O weep for her whose star of life is dim. Weep, weep for her, but weep no more for him. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.